Welcome back to Legacy Politics. We just hit 92 subscribers to the YouTube channel. Can we get to 100 by Election Day? Please like this video and subscribe down below. Also follow my Twitter account at Legacy Politics and my Instagram account at Legacy Politics as well. Today is your Thursday edition of Legacy Politics, and today we're going to be talking with our first guest ever on the show here with John Tofte. He is a renowned speech and debater. He's a researcher, and he is in college now. So it's really special to have our first guest on the show. We're going to be talking about Joe Biden's economic plan versus Donald Trump's economic plan. We've been talking a lot on this channel about election predictions, what's going to happen, and what happens if the election ends in ties and stuff like that, but we haven't really dove into any of the policies that either of these candidates are proposing. So that's what John and I are doing today. Please enjoy this interview. It's the first interview ever on Legacy Politics, but first enjoy this news update and enjoy your Thursday edition of Legacy Politics. Well, guys, welcome. I have with me John Tofte here. We're going to be talking a little bit about the economy, Trump's economy, and if Joe Biden is elected, whether or not what his economic plan will look like. So, John, just thank you for being here, man. You're an inspiration to me. Just
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to speak with you today.
So, just start off talking a little bit about, over the past 4 years, we've had a Trump presidency, and he's done a little bit of things different in the economy that past presidents haven't done. So just, start with some things that he's done that's really made the economy better than it was in the Obama-Biden administration.
For sure. So when we look at what was discussed in the first presidential debate between President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden, one of the biggest issues discussed was the issue of the economy. And one of the things that Joe Biden took contention to was President Trump's tax cuts. He said that it favored the rich. And in that debate, Joe Biden swore to abolish those tax cuts. It later became an issue in the second debate, the one between Vice President Pence and Senator Kamala Harris. The biggest issue for me in that debate, as I was watching it, when Kamala Harris was saying that, we're taxing Americans, we're giving Americans tax breaks. And then Vice President Pence questioned and said, are we getting rid of the tax breaks that went to the middle-class Americans? I believe it was Pence that said that it was $2,000 annually back in the pockets of, the middle-class Americans. And so I think it's been an interesting situation as we've discussed the economy, as we look at what the Trump tax cuts have done. And pre-COVID, we were looking at historic highs for the stock market. We've seen, for the most part, a V-shaped recovery to the stock market. So we've seen definite growth in several industries, technology specifically, as well as other sectors. But specifically technology, the automotive industry is booming. And we're seeing record highs set today. Despite all of the COVID trauma, people out of jobs, more jobs are being added to the economy every week as of right now.
Yeah, and like you were saying, they haven't asked in the debate, President Trump, you want to see a V-shaped return to the economy, and then he looked at Biden and said, you want to see a K-shaped recovery. So I just want to talk a little bit about Biden's plan. He's really been trending further left. Probably about 8 years ago, he probably wouldn't be proposing some of the things he's proposing now. He was more of a moderate Democrat. But he knows that to win this election, he's going to have to win some of the left supporters who voted for Bernie Sanders, correct? So you're going to have free college, free health care, stuff like that he's going to be trying to propose. So how is he going to be doing this?
So you're right. The left campaign this year definitely is focusing a lot on free for the millennials and Generation Z. free college, free 2-year education. If your parents make less than, I think it was $100,000, you receive all 4 years free. Free healthcare, and free sounds great to everybody. It's a great marketing tactic for their campaign. Who doesn't want something free? But how does the Biden campaign actually plan to pay for it? When we look at his plan and his proposal, a lot of what he plans to pay for these free or so-called free, things that he's proposing come in the form of tax hikes. But Kamala and Joe, they work their way around it, and they say, we're not increasing taxes for anyone making less than $400,000. That's their motto. That's their slogan. That's what they vow. Stick their hand on the Bible. That's what they're always going to say. Anybody who's making over $400,000, we're going to tax the heck out of them. They're going to be the ones paying for it, and that's how we're going to get all this great stuff free. But when you look at the repercussions of some of those tax ideologies, it does impact the middle and lower class Americans as well. So although their tax proposals are tacked onto, capital gains tax and people making more than $400,000, that trickles down to middle class Americans. So the first thing that I wanted to just touch on was the increase in the corporate income tax. It's currently at 26.5% right now as we're recording this, and Biden's proposal is to increase that to 28%. And that was from the Tax Foundation. They reported that. But secondly, and probably most disturbingly for the Biden campaign, is that they're going to be increasing capital gains tax. According to CNBC and multiple other sources, even the Biden campaign website itself, they're increasing the top tax rate for capital gains for the highest earners from 23.8% to 39.6%. And the website, CNBC, even recognizes that this is the largest increase in capital gains tax in the entire history of the market. When we look at this, when we look at the difference, it's a 15.8% increase, which is just astronomical. And a lot of the left, the far-leaning left, they say that, the stock market really only benefits the rich. But that's just not true. Like, what about retirement? The average American will want to retire, and using the stock market is a great tool to help them reach those goals. So it's not just the rich. Utilizing the stock market does help the average middle-class American. So I think that's really interesting as well. And then about housing costs, about jobs, if you're taxing wealthy landowners, they're going to have to raise rent. They're going to have to be increasing their monthly payments. So lower class, middle class Americans who are renting, they're going to be seeing some increases, presumably from these tax hikes as well.
Wow, really, you got some good evidence there, and even evidence from not only right-leaning from I think you said CNBC, and you said the Tax Foundation, and even the Biden campaign website. Right. And I think it's important that people know about this, because so much of the debate is whether or not Trump has handled coronavirus correctly or not, which that's a whole other discussion for another day, or whether or not your Second Amendment and the whole thing right now is with the hearings with Amy Coney Barrett and all that stuff is going on. But the economy, to me, is one of the most important parts in this election. And actually, if you look at it, 50 or over 70% actually favored Trump in the economy over Biden, right? So I think it's a very important thing to look at when you watch these debates, as you were saying, and they're saying, oh, well, we're only going to be raising taxes for people who are making over $400,000. And to everybody's mind is, well, I'm not making over $400,000. Right. There's not that many people making over $400,000 a year. So they're like, okay, well, I want my free college. Thank you. But as you just laid out, I mean, especially the capital gains, the tax rate for the capital gains going up, 16%. So yeah, that's incredible. And I think I saw like a little, a glimpse of it back in 2011, like gas prices were at $5.19 per gallon. And I know that it doesn't really fall under the tax, but it is a consequence when you hike the taxes up in that area. But the problem with that is it's an unseen tax. It's part of that thing where the average American isn't thinking about, oh, my retirement savings are going to be less because of this tax increase. They're thinking, oh, I'm getting more money, right? Or, oh, I'm not having to pay as many taxes in the short term, but it's not very long-term thinking. And so that's part of the damaging consequence to the average American. It's all about building a sustainable economy economy policy. And, President Trump has done that over the past 4 years. Like you were saying, before the pandemic, we were looking at historic numbers, and even people on the left. President Trump says it all the time. He was saying that people on the left were coming to him and we were really going to come together. And then, the plague hit, and then everything went soaring down from there. But it's going back up at historical highs now, too. And, President Trump says all the time, if Biden gets in, you're losing your 401ks and stuff like that. So
and that's really true. That's really true. Another thing that you just touched on that I think is important is a lot of the things that the Democratic Party has tried to focus on in this election, such as, the Supreme Court nomination, such as environmental issues, such as college. Most of those things, the social issues that they want to address, have to have funding somehow. I mean, when we look at Biden's proposal, it's $5-something trillion. He's going to have to fund this somehow. And so I think when we disregard the economy and we just focus on the things we want to do without focusing on the money that's necessary to make those things accomplished,
right?
We don't have any evidence to substantiate those claims. We don't have any means of achieving the social goods which we desire. That's why the economy is going to be a crucial part of the following debates to come and for the election in general as we see that approaching.
Yeah, and just go over like the overall tax increase if Biden was elected, or rather maybe the decrease if Trump continues to decrease taxes.
Absolutely. So I did a little bit of research, and according to the Committee for Responsible Financial Budget, Biden proposes to hike taxes by $4.3 trillion.
Wow.
And this isn't hidden information. This isn't something that the Biden campaign is trying to shy away from, cover up. They openly embrace that they're increasing taxes.
They're not even denying it at all. They're not denying it because, like you were saying, I mean, they've been saying in all the debates, well, we are increasing taxes for people over $400,000, but we just said it's not that. So
they like to mask it by saying it's for the rich, but the effects definitely trickle down to American. Nothing is ever free. Somebody's always paying for it. And that's exactly what we see here at stake in this election.
Just the logic of it. I'm sorry to interrupt, but just the logic of it. I mean, like I was saying, I mean, there can't be over 5% of the population making over $400,000 like that. I just don't believe that. So if that was the logic of it, then these people making over $400,000 would be getting incredible taxes, like unbelievable, the highest we've ever seen. So it has to be going some to other people. Like, so that just the logic of that doesn't even make sense. Not even just the numbers. Just wanted to insert that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But then when we compare like Biden's proposed tax increases, President Trump, as of right now, is still proposing tax cuts. And according to the same commission that reported the Biden's proposed tax increases, Trump would cut taxes by $1.7 trillion. So just like we were seeing record-setting stock market all-time highs before COVID, and now that COVID has slowly recovered, we can possibly see this again if his reelection does go through.
Wow. 1.7 trillion. That's pretty incredible. So in your opinion, what is the better economic proposal?
I mean, I think for the average American, for the rich, for all Americans, the answer should be quite clear. I think President Trump's comprehensive policies have benefited America in so many ways. When we look at the jobs, when we look at the stock market as a whole, when we look at the automotive industry as well, that was another heated part of the debate. Trump's proposal makes a lot more sense economically. Biden's proposal sounds better to the average American because it's it sounds cheaper. It sounds like you're getting a lot of free things out of the deal. But in the long term, it's not sustainable for our nation, and it's really damaging to future generations.
And I think it just shows just how much President Trump has kept his promise. In 2015, his whole thing was make America great again. And he did that with this economic plan. I mean, like we've been saying this whole time. I mean, just unbelievable numbers from the economic. And the reason for that is because he knows what he's doing. He's a businessman. He does this. He has unbelievable business. He's just an unbelievable businessman. And people didn't understand how great it would be if you got a businessman who is actually handling all of this. That's why China wants Joe Biden to be president, because President Trump has handled China so good. That's why all these countries want Joe Biden to be president. So yeah, really.
And as far as China, I mean, President Trump said that he would enact tariffs on China to bring American jobs back to America.
Exactly.
And he sure did that. And so when we look at someone who's been faithful about promises and getting things done, we can see that, like President Trump says, he's done more in 47 months than Joe Biden's done in 47 years. And I think that's definitely true.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Biden would be fine with us sending jobs or not even having the jobs coming back from China. He's fine with that, mainly because President Trump says he needs jobs back here, so he's just going to say whatever is against President Trump. But yeah, so really, really, really great research here. So just give us a brief, you're voting in this election. Give us a, as a teenager, or I think you're a teenager. I'm pretty sure you are. But
just turned 20.
Oh,
I survived the teenage years.
Look at that. He just turned 20. Okay. So tell us, as a 20-year-old, why you're supporting President Donald J. Trump, briefly.
In general, why I'm supporting President Trump, or why I'm supporting in regards to the economy?
Well, just give us some of your top issues why you're supporting him.
I'd say some of the top issues, first starting off just with the economy. I think the way President Trump has handled the economy has been very successful.
Yeah.
And even throughout the COVID crisis, we can debate, COVID itself, whether that was a success or a failure on the president's end. But making the call to stop flights to China was definitely a success. We've seen criticism from the left prior, before we knew everything about COVID. Joe Biden was calling it xenophobic, racist, hysterical. And, that action alone has saved. If we allowed flights to continue from China, I mean, we can make hypotheses about what would have happened, but the ultimate answer is it wouldn't have been pretty.
You're talking about a month and a half of people coming in here until he shut down, until he had the nationwide address from his Oval Office. Around a month and a half of flights coming in from China. Man, that'd have been terrible.
Right. So I think obviously I will agree with some of the left leaners that President Trump could have handled the COVID situation a little bit better. I think Mike Pence could have as well. And I think most Americans could agree to that. But I think in general, President Trump has done a great job in handling the COVID crisis. And this is an unprecedented crisis as well. This is not analogous inherently to, the what was it? The swine flu that Joe Biden and President Obama had to deal with. And so this is something that's unprecedented that President Donald Trump has had to deal with firsthand as well recently. So, and I think as well, as far as the Supreme Court, I think that I definitely side with the right leaners on this issue, that when we look at historical precedents, if there's an opening in the seat, it doesn't matter if it's, a day before the election, whoever's president at the time appoints. And so I think that trying to say, because we're in an election, you can't appoint somebody, that's just not historically founded. And in the VP debate, Kamala even tried to make the claim that Honest Abe said, I'm not going to do so because it's the right thing. When in reality, I mean, he didn't even have the means to make an appointment at that time. And so I just think that as far as the Supreme Court nomination, Amy's definitely a great choice. Yep. And I think that that's a great call on President Trump's end as well. So I definitely respect him for that.
Well, John, I really enjoyed talking about the economy, and
it was great to talk to you, man.
I'm glad we have a supporter of the president. It's always fun for me to talk to someone else and not just stare at my webcam. So I just enjoyed it. You really know your stuff about everything that you brought forth on the table. So thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully we can do it again, and hopefully we can pull President Trump through in November.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I really did. We had some really good stuff in that interview. He really knows his stuff, doesn't he? Well, guys, thank you for watching this video. As always, please like and subscribe to the channel. Trying to get to 100 by Election Day. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. And on Monday, we'll have our Monday edition of Legacy Politics, talking about what if Trump wins? What if Trump wins the election? And the next Thursday, we'll be doing another updated election prediction. As we're getting closer and closer to Election Day, the most important election in our lifetime. Very important. Get out and vote. We got to vote for this president. And if you don't think you should vote for this president, then go vote for Joe Biden. Whichever one you want to go do. Whichever one you think is the better candidate. So this is your Thursday edition of Legacy Politics. Legacy Politics signing out.